Welcome back to Life is Magic book readings. I'm going to read chapter 16 today. Sitting right next to the microphone, that's why I'm so close. Got my super cheap magnifiers on. Pardon them, they look stupid, but they work. And if you'd like to get a copy of the book, you can go to Amazon.com or you can order it off my website, robvalgiano.com. I would be very grateful for reviews of the book on Amazon as well to help push things out a little bit. And here we go. One of the strangest psychic encounters I've had took place a few years ago with an unknown, unseen visitor late at night. I was relaxed and half asleep in bed, which makes it easier for spirits and guides to communicate with us, as you likely already knew. The mind is less cluttered than during the day. Metaphysics has always fascinated me, even though our knowledge about the universe is necessarily limited, though much can be learned and intuited. One night at the edge of dreams, I thought about God being alone just before creating the universe and all life within it. Was its creation an attempt to escape his, her, its own singular omniscience? In other words, do we and the universe only exist because God was lonely? In trying to imagine this, I casually wondered if all else around me was an artificial construct of my own design, a virtual reality intended for my sole amusement, and to pretend I wasn't alone too. In a way, I was asking if somehow, inexplicably, I was God in disguise. Why on earth did this come to mind? Naturally, things got weirder, or weird attracts weird. Haha. To my great surprise, I felt an immediate, very strong presence in the third eye. My head started bobbing involuntarily forward and backward, rapidly. I recognized the feeling as the old familiar way I first started receiving spiritual visitors decades ago. In fact, it was very much like the original tickling event which awakened me to spirit. It was comically enthusiastic and playful, fun and not at all scary. And just like tickling day, my visitors stayed a good while as if to politely, though undeniably, emphasize a point. From previous experiences, I knew that rapid involuntary forward head bobbing of my own head is spirit's way of saying yes to a question I've asked, either to myself or aloud. It's kind of like being a human pendulum or divining rod. However, precisely because the thought was so random and no reply had been expected, I didn't think to say a prayer of protection in advance. So I wasn't completely sure if the yes I had received from the seemingly friendly visitor was a prank or even an unfriendly spirit trying to confuse me. I tried to trust it. After a pause, I again asked the visitor if somehow I was God. The forward head bobbing maintained its high intensity of confirmation and playfulness. But I didn't want to believe that I might be the only real being in existence, let alone its creator. Besides, what ego to even entertain such an idea? Which gave me another reason to want to push the thoughts away. The concept of believing oneself to be the only real living being in all of existence actually has a name. It's called solipsism, and it proposes that the apparent reality of other living beings outside of oneself can never be fully confirmed, nor can the true nature of the world around us, which we believe we perceive with our senses. Solipsism suggests the world may be an elaborate or illusion or even holographic, as we've already discussed. It's analog to movies like The Truman Show and The Matrix, but with only one person, the protagonist, being real. All else is Maya. Uh-oh. It's also a philosophical belief that states that the only thing a single intelligence like you or I can be certain of as being real is our own thoughts. I believe this originated with Rene Descartes, who famously declared, "I think, therefore I am," with his subtext being, I may not know exactly what I am, but the fact that I can recognize my own thinking means my intelligence exists in some form, even if all else around me is unreal. Descartes couldn't prove to himself that he had a real body or lived in a real world, but he knew that his thoughts were real. The very act of thinking proved it, though it didn't necessarily prove anything else. Yes, reality might be just a magic show. As I lay in bed internalizing this, I imagine that the room and everything in it, including my own body, might not be real in any provable way, but I knew my thinking was real, just like Descartes. Yes, I existed, though I couldn't be sure about anything else. Could I truly somehow be God with all of reality as a figment of my own imagination? These thoughts activated a fear response. I perceived the existential dread of solipsism. It was like being God, but suddenly alone in a universe sized room all by myself for all of eternity. WTF. WTF. Most people wisely never think of this at all. But what if that's what God actually experienced when presumably he, she, it first became self aware? Maybe God eventually decided to create other intelligent life with which to share its existence. And in creating life and the universe, God experienced not only the innate pleasure of creation, which is maximum self expression and self realization, but also a sense of purpose and even responsibility for its creations. That's turning a negative into a positive, for sure. God may also have realized that newly minted beings, mortal by design, would eventually wonder about their own origins and whether life has inherent meaning. And so leagues of angels, spirit guides, and other celestial entities were also manifested to help guide intelligent creatures towards God's own selflessness, empathy, and love. In God's original form, which was all the light there is, God was pure. But in pushing its light out into the new universe, that light was necessarily diluted when spread across the vastness of nothingness. Duality had come at a cost in the creation of God's opposite, which is the darkness and all its shades. But the dark also has an important role to play since it helps to define the light. Okay, then there's some dashes here in the text to indicate a new thought, and here's the new thought. Apparently, it's not uncommon for astronauts to experience solipsism after they have orbited Earth in space for a long time or up on the moon. Once a person has floated in the deep black a while, far from human civilization, in the weightlessness and absence of anything else that feels solid, surreality can set in. For some astronauts, when they return home, the seeming reality of life here becomes a little doubtful. Some question the reality of their own existence for a time until reacclimation. To be fair, I have mostly experienced solipsism when I was stoned, though I have only smoked marijuana a handful of times. And while high, I did indeed begin to doubt that I was real or that anything anywhere was real. I realized my comprehension of reality, if we really even exist at all, was so infinitesimally small that I was like a baby at a Mensa meeting. Some say that leafy greens are great for humbling oneself because they obliterate the ego. I think there's some truth to that, though I can get into outer space with my own unaltered brain. Human imagination is powerful. I believe it may be powerful enough to manifest reality itself alongside God. We create compulsively in imitation of the Creator. Some people have such powerful imaginations that they spend life conjuring their dreams into our physical world. Maybe. For every human construct of modern day life, from all of our houses, buildings, boats, and planes to the electric light bulb and the gin mill to spaceships and satellites, all the seemingly impossible magical things that exist here began in someone's imagination. It deserves a lot of respect. The song Mercy Street by Peter Gabriel marvels at the imaginative capacity of people in this way. This is a quote from the song. Looking down on empty streets, all she can see are the dreams all made solid, are the dreams made real. All of the buildings, all of the cars were once just a dream in somebody's head. Beautifully said, right? It could also be that, as the world's energetic vibration lifts over time, moving closer to the idyllic dimensions of more enlightened life forms, that humans may learn and further acquire the gift which spirit apparently already possesses, the ability to manifest ideas directly and immediately into reality simply by thinking of them, reordering the abundant energy around. Wouldn't that be something great to learn? More about that to come. Okay, another ... for a break in the chapter within the same chapter for the next new thought. How are we doing here on time? Okay. Back to the night of my head-bobbing visitor. At the height of my own imagination, when I successfully conceived that there were no other living beings in existence other than myself, a chill shot through my body, a chill of recognition mixed with fright. And just like that, now I was the astronaut floating outside the ship with no one else to save me from the cold, infinitely black, empty void of nothingness. Help! And what did I feel out there all alone? Really, really sad. A profound claustrophobic existential loneliness that swamped me in a way I can't fully describe. It seemed to be about the loneliest feeling that an intelligent being could experience. Yet in those brief moments, it seemed like I was able to grasp what it might have been like to be God at the beginning as the only consciousness in existence, to intuit it, to experience it like a flashback or replay. And then slowly, thankfully, I came back to the physical world and the feeling went away. Okay, another dash, 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 indicating a break of thought in the chapter. I can't know for certain what kind of spirit or energy responded to my accidental existential thought that night, but it absolutely happened. I considered trying to get more insight about it in consultation with some of the psychics I know, but wasn't sure if that was the best use of time or that it wouldn't lead to a new series of rabbit holes. It's hard enough to find time to write about this stuff, and sometimes I'm at the edge of what my mind can fathom without cracking. In the weeks that followed, I was unable to make further sense of the experience and decided to shelve it. But I secretly suspected I would have to include it in the book in order to be honest about my major psychic experiences, even ones I don't fully understand. I shared the experience with a few close friends by email. More than one suggested I'd possibly misinterpreted the message. My friend Fran wrote, "Perhaps that spirit was so joyful to hear you say you are God and the only living person because you got it. By that I mean we hear God is one, and if we are one with God, then it follows we are also one." Capital one, capital O on that one. Frank continued, I would liken it to spirits who have passed being able to be in many places at the same time, i.e., your brother Justin can visit you, Steve, and Mom in different places at the same time. This boggles the human mind we are forced to live with. I don't think that we are living individual reality shows. I think we are all one with each other and with God. But to answer why that spirit seems so genuine is because I think it was. You would have known a trickster spirit. Perhaps it was so joyful just being able to commune with you. In other words, I really don't know. You and me both, Fran, but I like your interpretation. Perhaps what many spiritualists and philosophers have suggested is true, that each of us is an emanation of the original source, and thus our true nature is more like a collective in which we are always together, integrated, unified, and whole, while retaining individual identity, at least on this side of the veil. We're fully connected and protected by our Creator, and our souls are immortal and cannot be destroyed, as discussed. The Creator is a part of us, and we are a part of Him, her, it, and perhaps that's why my visitor was so joyful and enthusiastic in confirming that I'm God, because you are also God, and we are all God together. Another way of thinking about this came when my psychic friend Kim Carey, whose YouTube channel is called Intuitive View, coincidentally sent me a video about a man named Matthias DeStefano, whose experiences resonated with my own. I watched some of DeStefano's video, but was afraid that watching it all the way through would contaminate similar ideas in my book. I planned to go back once it was finished. My book, I mean. One of the intriguing things DeStefano said was, there are attributes to the Creator that you can activate in you, like I am the medicine, I am the protector, I am the light, I am the path, and I am life. And who said that? Jesus. And he was trying to embody every one of the names of God. He was not saying that he was the only one. He was saying that's the only way that you can embody God, when you realize I am light, I am power, and so on. This made perfect sense. It reinforces the idea that I can be God and you can be God too. We embody God by invoking his, her, its positive attributes which already exist within us. If you or I say, I am the light, It's a true statement because that is the essence of a soul. As noted, we are light energy, a slice of the Creator, which is also the whole, like a hologram or fractal. Keep in mind what a hologram is: a two-dimensional, i.e., representation of what appears to be three-dimensional reality. In other words, when you look at a hologram, the objects appear to be in 3D, but they're actually completely flat, which is hard to comprehend, but which makes it no less real. Perhaps when viewed from the perspective of spirit or God, our reality indeed appears to be two-dimensional, like a movie on a screen. The third dimension we perceive here may not be real in the conventional sense. Holograms are also wild in that when cracked and broken into pieces, each single individual piece, no matter how large or small, contains the entirety of the whole original holographic image. Therefore, if God is like a hologram, and the whole of God is in every little sliver of the universe, including every individual soul, then each fragment of it, meaning you and I and everyone else, is also God in whole, as speculated. We are in some senses individuals, but in the larger sense, we are indistinguishable from each other and simply the one and all. We each recognize the part of ourselves which is divine, if that's not already self evident, while acknowledging that we also have free will to believe anything we like, even though I also believe that free will is a gift from God. Okay, and then we have yet another little within chapter break to get into the home stretch here. After the first draft of this book was complete in early 2022, I allowed myself to watch the rest of Matthias DeStefano's video regarding what he claims are the 9 dimensions of existence. I no longer feared it would contaminate my own ideas because I'd settled upon them already. DeStefano said it's simple to understand life. I'm so glad he thinks so. The way to understand how the universe works is to understand how biology works. We, as a collective on Earth, are just a single human body with all its different internal organs and systems. All of life is one organism, and the specialization of the cells is what makes us different. But we need all the different types of specialized cells and different organs and systems for the body to work properly. I grasped that, and I agree with it too. Then DeStefano quoted Rumi: "We are not a drop of water in the ocean, we are the ocean in a drop." Which again comes back to the idea of the hologram. Each small part also contains the whole. Here's a paragraph in parentheses. Consider, too, that there is a supermassive black hole that was recently discovered, which beats regularly and rhythmically like a human heart. As we learn more about the universe, we see that it, too, appears to be alive. Then close that parentheses. Just as the cells in each human body are individualized for various functions, so too may human beings be individualized cells in the greater organism that is the universe. As above, so below. This is also why every cell, i.e., everyone, is valuable and unique, and the health of the whole depends entirely upon it, because we each have a different purpose and function in the whole of the universe body. In DeStefano's concept of 9 dimensions of reality, he says that the 9th realm is the end of the road, or the beginning, too. DeStefano believes that one's ultimate realization of the 9th dimension is that there is no one there at all. Uh-oh. Or, conversely, but simultaneously, DeStefano claims that 9th dimensional awareness reveals that it was only you, or me, at the end of the road or at the top of the hill all along. You hid yourself from yourself, as I did from myself, in the 9th dimension. This is not unlike what I've described at length with God as the first dreamer, hiding forever in its own dream world. You are God, but living a different life from mine. I am also God, but living a different life from you. There are infinite different versions of what a life could be, and in the end, we may simply express every possible version of God in our diversity of thought, belief, action, and being. We're all together, and we're each alone, but together. And naturally, if I hurt you, I am only hurting myself, and conversely, if I love you, I am loving myself as I should. Which is possibly what my powerful, exuberant visitor tried to communicate in bed that night with its enthusiastic head bobs and energy, and why it was so joyful. And further, Stefano said that the complete understanding of all that is, capital ATI, of all that is a further realization that there is no good and there is no evil, no light and no dark. It isn't a binary experience at all. It simply is. It's all that must be, can be, or will be, or all of the above. Is that bonkers? Oh, yeah, definitely. But I think maybe I get it too. You know, this is probably also why the Buddha always smiles when you see his statue or picture. He figured out the big cosmic joke. Yes, existence is an absurd, paradoxical state of magic which makes no sense but does at the same time. You have basically two options in response to life: laughter or tears. Buddha chose the better option, as we should, to laugh and enjoy life as much as is possible despite inevitable suffering. And perhaps all of this goes on forever and ever, endlessly looping, God continuously scrambling all of the variables around the multidimensional, multiversal wheel to keep things interesting. Which reminds me of a song I wrote a few years ago, which will appear on a future record, actually my next record. See what you think of the lyrics and whether they apply. Then let's put this chapter to bed. So this is the lyric to a song I wrote called Everything is Only the Beginning. Everything is only the beginning. Permanent state of becoming, forever rate of change, infinite space and variation, so beautiful and strange. Everything is only the beginning. Everything is only the beginning. Living and dying, rolling a die, being or not being, choosing a side, one moment rising, the next sinking low, hot summer sun and the frozen cosmos. Everything is only the beginning. Everything is only the beginning. All of it matters, and also it don't. Impenetrable fortress filling with smoke. Killers on Sunday, saints the next morn. The day you're erased is the day that you're born. It's where I will meet you, back at the top, where everything started, though it never stopped. Soaked in contradiction, was, is, will be, always was. Swan dive the flat circle from someplace above. Everything is only the beginning. Everything is only the beginning. Everything. Everything. ... That concludes chapter 16. All right. That was pretty good timing. So, next time, chapter 17, which is called Final Thoughts on God for now. Thank God. Haha. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. See you soon, I hope. Thank you. Please thumbs up and share if you thought it was interesting. Thanks.